Let's take the people back to about a year ago, early January 2024. What brought you into my world?
Yeah, it was actually, I saw somebody that I used to work for, and is it just a good friend of mine now. He was talking about how the number one thing that he did for his career was to learn how to be or get better at tonality. And he said that he went and hired, a bunch of different celebrity coaches and whatnot. And it was just a huge, huge, huge win for him. And then I was looking, I was like, obviously I'm not gonna, he said that he hired the one that worked with like, definitely name, maybe I can't mention it. Names, but he was talking about that. I was like, well, I'm definitely not going to connect with that person. Um, but I know that there's people that know how to do this and are really good at this. So I actually just went on a Google search of, tonality and voice training, and you came up, and I booked a call with you, and we got on a call, and you helped me a lot with just that initial thing, because where I was at was I was doing probably 7 hours a day of calls, and I was just feeling so vocally strained and feeling like I was just missing something with the how I was speaking. And so I went or we did the call, and I was just really impressed with just the exercise you had me do, it was really easy to implement and really good visuals on what to do. And then yeah, that's basically how it started.
And then what did we uncover in that call? We were talking about it being vocal fatigue, but what else did we discover with your voice and the use of your voice?
It was that I always have had this ceiling in my career. I've always felt like I kept hitting this ceiling of not being able to have the leadership needed, because that's the number one skill, highest paid skill there is leadership. So I felt like I kept hitting, like, I'm really good at copyright, I'm really good at ads, I'm really good at all these things, but for whatever reason I just can't get past a certain point. And we uncovered that, part of, or a big part of leadership is just how people perceive you when they hear you, and how serious they take what you say. And that was a big thing that I wanted to work on, because I knew it was a number one thing that was holding me back.
hmm Yeah, your voice tells the world who you are. What is that, and what is your experience of using your voice now in a different way?
Yeah. Well, it was actually really surprising. It was really weird how people responded to it. Even though to me, I was like, I don't know if I sound different? I don't know. It didn't feel like but I felt like I was onto something with it, with us working on it. And I did the exercises. We did a couple calls together where we really ironed out some things on the voice. And the next group call that I did, because I host these group calls with, sometimes there's 20, 30, 40 people on them. And I did the call, and I was saying the same stuff that I was saying the last 4 months that I was doing these calls. I was saying the same things, but I noticed that more people were like writing things down, and more people were saying, "Oh, that's so good." And just really, I saw way more engagement, and that people were taking what I was saying way more seriously. And I remember messaging you. I was like, dude, this is really weird. Like, I don't feel like I'm saying anything different, but people are reacting to me in a different way. I think it's in my voice. You called it something different, but I was speaking very not projecting, which came off as really like unconfident. So like one of the things you told me was literally just, you know, don't wear headphones on calls. And like that I stopped it, or I still do it sometimes, but for the most part I stopped doing that, and that helped a lot. And what you had told me was a really awesome exercise, was just, you know, project as if you want the back wall to reverberate.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of mental frame. And then there were some other things on top of that, but just that made it so that when I spoke, I don't know, maybe there was just more resonance in the voice, to where, there was more conviction just by having that more authoritative tone.
From there, then we started working in the executive coaching capacity. Talk a
Hmm.
little bit about your experience there. You've had some pretty serious wins in a couple of key areas.
Yeah. So one of the things was, mindset, really important. You gave me a journaling practice that, I'm going to use at some capacity for the rest of my life, because throughout the year, even though I know you have to remind me sometimes to to do it, but I've done it dozens and dozens of times this year of us working together, and I've had some of the best revelations and insights into my life, and some of the biggest, aha moments, and they just came from me with this journaling practice. So that was a huge, huge win for me, and that made it so if I had an issue or something was frustrating me, or something made me really mad, or, even something that I was really grateful for or excited for, I had that journaling tool to be able to really work those things out and be able to get better insights, and almost seeing my life of like a third party perspective. Because I know there's a journaling prompt that I heard of a few years ago that was, if somebody else was going through what you were going through, what advice would you give them? And that has limitations. It's a good one, but it has limitations. And what you showed me made it so that it was way more interactive, and made it so that you couldn't BS yourself. You couldn't, because otherwise it wouldn't work. So that was really, really powerful. The other thing you challenged me on was, I at my you know, crazy height of 5'5" was 165 pounds. That's too much. So, you said, like, people, your body sends not your voice sends a message, so does your image and how people perceive you. And so, you challenged me with the mindset stuff of journaling, working through those things. And then there was, in a very specific way, not just journaling.
And also, you have really accelerated your skills if we look at those first efforts compared to where you're at now, not just in terms of the actual art and science of completing one, but what you're able to get out of it, and also what you're able to implement from what you get out of it has been, I would say, a tremendous, you made tremendous progress there.
The tool. It's called the Stack. By far the coolest tool that I found for personal development. And what's cool about working with you, though, is that, it's good to use it. Doing it alone, you'll get amazing insights into it. But then also having somebody that can then see what you're saying and help you get even more perspective, and more, maybe challenge you a little bit further than you may have held back on yourself. And so that is a really, really important part of it, I think, as well. So yeah, super invaluable tool. I think I'll use it for the rest of my life. So worth it.
What have your financial wins been? What's the ROI coming from insights that you got from those course corrections, from that rigorous honesty with yourself? What's the
Yeah, I
ROI
mean,
there?
one of them is, well, back to, I'll get to that. But back to the fitness, and then, or there was a mindset, and then fitness. You're like, your body sends a message of
Your
who you
body is
are.
your business card.
Yes, yes, exactly. And so you challenged me to that, and I still have some work to do, but I've lost, almost 20 pounds in this year. And that's definitely not being perfect. It's just being consistent, and at some capacity, even if I was off on one thing, something was always consistent with fitness, and that really, really helped. And I know I've gained muscle. I just need to, reveal it further. but but
Give yourself a little bit of grace, dude.
uh
You're exactly where you need to be, and the work has been tremendous.
yeah, exactly. And then, in terms so putting these all together, one, at the beginning of the year, I was an employee at a company, and not necessarily an executive, but, in a good role. And I still wanted to be an entrepreneur. So not only, or a few things happened. One, that weight loss of, I think I can get to 20 pounds weight loss in just less than a couple months. But, you know, 15 pounds, really awesome. And then I am getting consistent with, I mean, this is going to pay dividends for years. It's just that, like, zone 2 cardio for at least 30 minutes, ideally an hour a day. And I'd been doing that for months. And that's just, if you look into it, it's super, super important for your overall health, especially your heart health. But anyway, so there's that, the fitness. And then with business, I was able to get into a incredible business partnership that I don't think would have been possible without all of these things coming together, without the insights from the stack and working with you on it, without losing the weight, without fixing my tone so that people pay more attention to what I'm saying and take it more seriously. Without all those things, I don't know if that would have happened. And so in the last 30 days, I've had a record 30 days, which was over double what I was making when we first started working together. So it's pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy indeed. So talk about how this has impacted what you view as possible for yourself going forward. What's the
Yeah.
broader impact on your life, and what are you going to carry with you? What are you seeing as more possible now than you did last year?
Yeah. I mean, I really think that I I feel like I have way more control over my future. You know, I don't. When we first started working together, I was kind of like, I'm just gonna ride the coattails of people that I work with, and which would have given me a great income and great life. Not to discount any of that, but I felt like I was always, that leadership ceiling was just, there was just something I was never going to be able to get past. And that's
Mhm.
just wasn't for me. And that, getting back to my 22-year-old, 10% body fat was like a thing of the past. It was never going to happen. Or, I just thought a lot of these, like even at 31, it felt like all of the best things, the potential that I had already been realized, which I know if you're somebody that's, probably 40 or over, you're probably like, that's a really stupid way to think about it. But it really felt that way. I felt like I was really, really behind, and that I was just gonna have to settle on some certain areas of my life. And I don't feel like I have to settle on anything because I have the tools to be able to advance. And even though it took, you know, most of the year to get to where I'm at, it went by so fast. And I am now, ready for hockey stick growth because the foundation is set, and now it's just building on top of it.
How do you view leadership and your role and your purpose in work and in life differently or similarly to how you did last year?
Yeah, one of the weird serendipities of the stack is that it kind of shows you how to communicate with people as well. Because you're communicating with yourself. It's a tool that you go back and forth with, but it's not AI, but it's something like it. And you're going back and forth with it, and you're talking through things. It's challenging you on things. It's asking you to give insight, and so you really have to think. And it kind of makes you, or it does make it so that you know how to have those types of conversations with people in a, one-to-one level. And it was really cool was the first time I noticed this was when I told you, I like, man, I had a call where I felt like I just failed as a leader, and I could have done better, but I don't know exactly how I could have done better. And you watched the call with me, the recording, and you went through, here's what I would do. And then I think, I don't know if it was that same day or like within a week, I was like, wait, that's the stack. That's how you communicate. And that's how the stack communicates. And so it's kind of a weird thing that happens by using it, but you're essentially going from, or you're learning, not only giving yourself insights, but you're also learning how to communicate better, which in turn, leadership is communication. It's persuasion. It's getting people bought in. And how you look, how you sound, and how you communicate is all of that tied in. That's why it's the highest paid skill, because those are all difficult things to get really good at.
Hmm. What's the biggest lesson you've learned this year? What's the biggest revelation, or the first thing that comes to mind when you think about that?
Hmm. I think one thing is, whenever I did a stack about something I was sad about, angry about, or guilty about, it was always turned back on me. and and which is really empowering because you think that like all of these things are like, you know, this guy did this thing and now I'm pissed and it's or or you know something around you know that made you feel some type of way negatively. You know, if you really go in and do the stack and you go through the prompts and you really dive into it, you'll always find that one, there was something good from it, something to learn, some life lesson to learn. And man, there's been dozens and dozens of those. I remember sending you a few where you're like, holy shit, that is insane. and, and
What is one big lesson that you've taken from this year?
there's always a positive and it's always your fault. And that's a really I think it's a really important thing to realize because it's true. I mean, you hear, you know, extreme ownership, you know, so there's a whole book written about that exact topic of everything's your fault. and,
Mhm.
but using the stack, you're really able to see why in ways that I wasn't able to before. And that makes it so that you can create those insights that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to have.
What's it changed about your relationship with yourself? How is your relationship to yourself different now than it was last year?
In my mind, it's that I feel like I have the tools to be able to work through the things that I would have normally been really hard on myself. And then I do the stack and I'm like, you know, I'm freaking human. And, you know, these are the lessons instead of beating myself up, like, okay, what can I do better? And with the stack, you actually have to list the things that you're going to do differently. And I think that's a really big help. And just what I've been able to accomplish this year with fitness, with leadership, with income, all that is just really made me feel like, you know, I can do just about anything that I want, and and that I have the tools to uh, fix things that I either personal life, relationships, business. I have the tools to be able to uh, you know, take a bad situation and make it good, or a good situation and make it better.
That's amazing. What would you say to somebody who is thinking about coming to work with me?
I think you should. If you're if you feel like you're, uh, you know, I've actually worked with Michael on two different things past the initial engagement. And in order, if you've never bought some kind of, you know, coaching or mentorship, you know, buying it twice is pretty rare in this industry. And I don't think I've ever bought it twice. So that says a lot right there. But I really think like if you're having any of those same issues, you know, you're not where you need to be with your health, business, relationships. Like Michael is a great person to help you with those things because of the tools that he gives you, along with his own insights and accountability. He will definitely hold you accountable. One of the best things that I did this year was I was I was really struggling to be consistent with the gym, and you know Michael was really he kept showing up, reminding me, trying to hold me accountable. And I was like, you know what? I think the only thing that's going to make it so that I will stay accountable is if it's painful. And so I said, here's my credit card number. If I don't text you the workout that I did that day every day by this time, run it for $500. And you never got to run it. And that set the
That was
foundation.
your idea too.
Yeah,
I
it was
was
my
like,
idea.
okay,
Yeah, it was
won't
my
say
idea.
no to that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was my idea because I was like, I know myself and I know that I need to have some kind of radical accountability. Now I don't need that though. Like I go to the gym every single day, or at least go on at least the very minimum a 30-minute walk if I don't make it to the gym. But the gym is at least 6 days a week. And I don't need somebody to hold me accountable because I gave myself that radical accountability and that made it so I set up the habit. So now it's something I actually look forward to. I think one of my favorite parts of the day is, you know, waking up at 4:30 or 5, putting in a book. Really got into fiction this year, putting in an awesome book or Audible book and getting to listen to it for, you know, 2 hours. The drive there, at the gym, drive back. it's a ritual now that I absolutely love.
It's amazing, dude. Wow.